Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. Have you had a good Sunday? A good weekend? If you're here, drop me a comment. Let's see what's going on. What's the weather like where you are? It was nice and cool here today, a lot cooler than it has been. And when I was running, there was wind, which was great, so it kept me a bit cool. Although my run today was incredibly difficult, I really struggled. And then it's been raining this afternoon, which is great. Not enough rain, but still good. So if you're watching, drop me a comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know who's watching. Today, I thought I'd do a live. I didn't realise I've actually just seen that Ollie Bowler Hatman is live, and I do apologise. I will try to remember that in future and go live a little bit before, so that I don't, clash with him, because obviously he does good stuff, and I know that he'll be talking about all the stuff that's going on in the rest of the world. So. Hi Billy, lovely to see you. Audio and video fine. Thank you very much for letting me know. Gary, hi, lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. Did you subscribe, Gary? I think you did. So yeah, I just thought I'd do stuff and nonsense. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about anything serious, although I do have some news articles that I'm going to share with you that I think are interesting. That's stuff, but I've also got some nonsense for you as well. So, yeah, my run today, it was a tough one today. I don't know why. I really struggled running, really struggled. Just my legs just felt really heavy. So I ended up walking a couple of spaces, but I did have my vest on with water in, and I had 2 litres of water in it. So I think that extra weight probably, had an impact. So I'm going to play around with the amount of water that I put in there this week. Hi Stephen, lovely to see you. You cannot stomach the bowler hat man. That's okay. We all have our choices, and I completely understand. Don't worry. There are people that I won't watch. So, so anyway, at least you're here, which is great for me. So yeah, my run was a bit tough today, but I want to say thank you to everybody who has donated. I really appreciate it. I'm up to £50 now, so I've got another 50 to go to reach my target. I put my target quite low on this one, made it £100. So the race for life is next weekend on the Sunday. So by this time next week, I'll have finished. And I'm hoping that I have enough energy to go live. I should do, guys, because I ran 10K earlier on in the week, and I was fine and tired, but not that tired. So hopefully I won't get carried away by the start, because at the start of races everybody flies, and then by the first sort of 500 meters you're dying. So I want to make sure that I stick to my pace, keep going, and just keep doing what I do. And if it takes me 2 hours to finish, then it takes me 2 hours to finish. I mean, today's run was 55 minutes, which is incredibly long for a route that I've been running for 6 months now. So I was a bit disappointed in myself. But a friend said to me, the important thing is you're doing it. And I agree. The important thing is I am doing it, and it is hard. It's not easy starting to run again at 56. Well, I was 55 when I started again. So this time last year, literally this time last year, I could barely walk. I was using a stick to walk with. I couldn't get out of chairs properly. And now I'm running 10Ks. Okay, it's taking me a long time, but I'm doing it. You have a lot of respect for me. Thank you, Stephen. I do my best. I do my best. I think, I'm doing it for my dad. So, I'm running the cancer race for life for my dad, because he passed of cancer. And I know I've said this before. So I sort of have him in my head when I'm running, saying, pick your feet up. And today, especially, because I nearly tripped over a stray route that was attacking me again. And I heard him say, lift your bloody feet up, Debs. So, yeah. I just want to finish next week. I'm not going to get a personal best. You know, my personal best was an hour for a 10K. So, but I'm doing it, and that's what's important. I don't know if I told you guys, I didn't get into the London Marathon. Unfortunately, I got an email. So, yeah, it's very difficult to get in. So many people apply, and they only allow so many entrants. So, what they did do, though, in the email was send me links to Marie Curie, the charity, to see if I can get a place with them on their charity run. I'm also going to check with other charity as well in the next week to see if there are any spaces on their runs. But yeah, I'm a bit disappointed. I will admit I am a bit disappointed. I know I don't have a lot of time to race a marathon. You know, next year's London Marathon falls the day after my birthday, so I will be 57 then. And you know, the older you get, the more difficult it gets, the more your body doesn't want to work. But I am trying to have a healthy diet now, although yesterday, some of you will have seen, I did make some jam tarts. I cheated because the pastry was the rolled pastry that you get. But I don't have a proper tin to put tarts in, so I just put them on greaseproof paper and sort of made edges on them and then popped the jam in. But they were nice. Well, there's still some left, so that I'm going to have that after this with some custard. Participation equals admiration. Thank you, Stephen. I really, yeah, I think I've really pushed myself with this. My mum's really pleased. She, bless her, she thought I was running today. Bless her, she's 87. I think she turns 88 next month. So, yeah, it's, you know, some days she has good days, some days she has bad days. She doesn't have dementia. But as we get older, our brain does actually shrink and we do lose grey matter. And that's one of the things, actually, that I wanted to talk about today. Bear with me, let me just get up the article. It's from Lad Bible, and this is really interesting. Oh, do I have my book here? Yeah, I do have my book here, so I can use this as well. I was going to talk about this the other day, but didn't have time. So this is from Lad Bible. And these are all sort of, as I say, stuff and nonsense stories, nothing to do with politics at all. I just don't want to talk about it. Heard enough about it today. Scientists, this was published on the 16th of June. Scientists left stunned after discovering man was living a normal life with 90% of his brain missing. 90% of his brain missing. It is possible. It's written by Keegan Marquez. In a case that continues to challenge scientific understanding of the brain, researchers are examining how a man with only about 10% of his brain tissue manages to live a regular life. Following an MRI, the scans show that most of the man's skull was filled with fluid instead of brain tissue. While it was initially thought that the brain tissue had eroded, scientists now believe that it was compressed by the fluid. So pretty much the image shows sort of the brain matter around the outer edge of the skull and the skull inside the brain, where the brain would be, being hollow. He shows only mild intellectual impairment. His IQ was measured at 75, which is below average, but not low enough to qualify as intellectually disabled. The condition is the result of a hydrocephalus, a disorder involving the build-up of fluid in the brain. He had been treated for it as a child, in which he had a shunt inserted to drain the fluid. The shunt was removed when he was 14. Over time, the fluid slowly accumulated back and seemingly compressed the brain tissue. Neurologists in France are intrigued by how well the man functions, given how little brain tissue remains intact. This is really, really interesting for me, because this is what I'm studying, or have been studying at the moment. Still haven't had my results back from my essay. I'm going to contact them tomorrow and say, where are my results? Because I've not had them back. Cognitive psychologist Axel Cleeremans from Université Libre de Brussels uses this case to advocate his radical plasticity thesis. And plasticity is a thing, and I'm going to explain to you in a minute because I've got the pictures in my book here that you can have a look at. It was previously believed that consciousness stems from a single part of the brain. However, according to Clearmans, any theory of consciousness has to be able to explain why a person like that, who is missing 90% of his neurons, still exhibits normal behavior. Now, a neuron is a cell. It's a brain cell. So neuron, brain cell, same thing. Clearmans believes that people aren't born with consciousness in a single part of the brain. Instead, he believes that its location can be flexible and learnt by different parts of the brain, which would explain why this man has lost 90% of his brain, still exhibits normal behaviors. So, okay, so I hope you can all see this image here. I actually did this in my final essay, so this is quite fresh in my mind. But if you have a look here, the top image is a fully formed brain. Where the brain is, the cerebral cortex, the vertebral part of the spine that it's attached to, and the hippocampus, which is the back part of the brain. Then we have mild Alzheimer's disease, which shows that parts of the cerebral cortex are starting to actually diminish. And then full-blown Alzheimer's or dementia, whatever you want to call it. Alzheimer's is one form of dementia. It was named after the scientist Alzheimer. You can see that a lot more of the cerebral cortex is disappearing. The grey matter is disappeared. So that's why people can't remember. However, the brain has two specific lobes, Wernicke's lobe and Wernicke's lobe. They're sort of on the side of the brain. And when you have brain damage, these two parts of the brain can die. But the brain rewires itself. So it's able to bypass that. And in time, a person who has suffered brain damage can learn to speak again. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen this kind of thing happen in movies. And it is actually real. I can't remember what page that's on. But yeah, so this guy, the amount of cerebral cortex that he's got, has obviously in some way started to rewire itself, and he's able to function to a level of normalcy that is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to carry on watching this story because I find it incredibly interesting, and I will update you as soon as anything else comes out. But studies like this can take years. I mean, it's probably going to be a longitudinal study, you know, looking at him now and then in 10 years time, you know, 5 years time, 10 years time, and so on, and how it affects him with the rest of his bodily functions as well. So it's going to be interesting for me to keep up with that. So what do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that? This guy having sort of this hollowness in his head and his brain just basically being around the skull. Stephen, thanks for the crystal information. My sis had a huge collection just because she loved them. Clarity on their meanings, useful information. You're welcome. I'm going to be doing, Stephen, a lot more lives on these kind of things. I used to do tarot readings and crystal readings live on Facebook. So I'm going to start doing them on here. I don't want to create another YouTube channel because it's taken me so long to build this up, but I might pick a day and, you know, do readings on that specific day. And people who want readings would then have to pay into an account so that I can give them readings. But then again, if a person wanted a private reading, I could also do that and do it through WhatsApp or Messenger. I'm not sure if Teams would work or Zoom would work. I'm not sure if you have to pay for that, but that's my plan going forward, because I need to start earning a salary, because my mobility is now back to fairly normal. My PIP is being adjusted. So, you know, that's it. I'm losing a big chunk of money. So, and it's only right that I do that. You know, I'm not a benefit thief at all. I was worried that I was going to fall ill again with my leg, but I'm managing to work through it. And you know what? If it does happen again, and if my back does go, I can reapply. But right now, I just feel that it's fair that I take that loss and, you know, it goes to somebody else. I did work. I did pay into national insurance and all the rest of it. So, but you know, I don't want to be lying to people and thinking, is somebody watching me? Because even if you are physically disabled and you can't walk and you can't move, you know, you might have a day where you're feeling okay. So you get in the car and you go to the shop. And of course, when you're pushing a trolley around the shop, you have something to lean on. My mum does that when I take her shopping. She likes to push the trolley because she's got, you know, something to lean on then, rather than she's got a trolley that she has as well, like a, you know, one of those walker trolley things with the wheels on and a seat on it. So yeah, this time last year I was walking with a stick and couldn't get out of a chair. And now, you know, my fitness level has improved. I've lost weight. I'm eating healthier. Still, you know, my mental health is still an issue. Today I made porridge this morning and I went before my run. I had it before my run, and when I got back, I'd left the actual ring on the stove on. So yeah, these things happen, and it is part of my mental health issues. And it's the medication as well that also does it. So there are still things that I need to be aware of. Stephen, not demeaning the man's plight. My sister survived 3 aneurysms, clipping shunt, mild stroke, personality changed with every operation. 1999, Southern General, Glasgow. 2006, Hope, Salford. Yeah, it will change the personality because certain parts of the brain will be damaged by that. And oh, what was it that I was watching recently? You know, it could have been a video from my course. In fact, it's a story about a guy. Let me see if I can find it here. Phineas Gage. His name was Phineas Gage, that's it. And he worked down the mines in America. And his job was to use some sort of pole and some sort of hammer and hit this pole. Anyway, what happened was that's it. He was putting dynamite down the holes, and the pole was used to push the dynamite down the holes. Anyway, as he was doing that, the dynamite exploded and the pole went through his head. And before the accident, he was always a gentle sort of giant, you know, he was a big man, very gentle, very likable, you know, nice man. And then afterwards, his anger really, really increased and he became sort of not a nice person to be around. So that sort of damage can affect people in ways that we are still investigating and still trying to understand. So bless you, Stephen. I'm sorry that she went through that. You know, that's absolutely awful to experience that and to see that happen to a person who you love and care about, and that change. It must be absolutely awful. I am sorry about that. Hi, Trip. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. I'm just going to have a drink, guys. I had steak and chips for my tea. It sounds very extravagant, doesn't it? But yeah, I cut my steak, you know, a sort of that size piece of steak. I cut it into 3 pieces because it's too much for me for one meal because of my hernia. Anyway, so the brain is an amazing thing and also a very frightening thing at the same time. And I think we need to, so many of us are very quick to criticize other people. And I'm guilty. I'll put my hand up at this, online, when we think they're perhaps not as intelligent as ourselves. And we need to understand that not everybody has the same brain capacity. And we have to try and take things at people's, you know, as to say like, okay, this person may have emotional difficulties or may have intelligence difficulties or some other form of mental health issue. Recently, a friend of mine was very concerned because she hadn't been invited to an event personally, but she hadn't had a personal invitation. So she was very, like, I think this person has a bit of ADHD or autism, and she was very upset, and she said, I don't want to go because they didn't invite me. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that you're invited, just, you know. Anyway, it turns out that the person had not invited them, you know, on purpose, but they had had so many things going on in their life at the time, and they were dealing with so many other things, and they also had ADHD. So, you know, we have to understand, and we're always quick to say, well, they didn't invite me and I'm not going. Perhaps that person just didn't have a chance to because of whatever else was going on in their life at the time. You know, we tend to live in our own little universe, don't we? And we feel that the world revolves around us. And I've tried over the years to sort of make an effort to get to know and understand people. And it's part, I think, you know, now that I'm studying psychology, I think it's part of something that I need to do for my therapy work that I'm going to be doing anyway. If I do decide to go that route, I might just decide to stay in academia, which I really enjoy. I love the research side of things. But I think that we need to start understanding that some people have stuff going on, and we can't always be, you know, in charge of that, or think that, oh, well, they didn't invite me because they don't like me. They've got stuff going on. Stephen, thanks for bringing this topic up with empathy and respect. I think, Stephen, you know, like I say, there are so many things that happen to us in life that cause so much, so many problems, and we don't, you know, some of us, I'm not saying all of us, because I know that a lot of us do have empathy and are aware of what's going on around us. But some of us tend to just overlook those things. I'm a very big helper of people, older people. I think it was last year or the year before, and I was walking to the shop. It was one of my good days, and I was walking to the shop, and there was this old lady. She was in a mobility scooter, and she was sat on the pavement, you know, where the crossing is, but it's not an actual crossing, it's just the dip in the pavement. They've changed the law now that you have to stop, or you're supposed to stop, people don't. But as I was walking towards her down the street, I saw she was just sat there, nobody was stopping. So when I got to her, I said, are you okay? And she said, yeah, I'm just trying to cross the road. I said, okay, don't worry. So I walked out into the road, put my arms up and stopped the traffic going both ways, let her cross the road, then thanked the people who'd stopped and carried on. And I thought, you know what? I don't care if you drivers get upset with that, but she said to me as she was crossing the road, thank you so much. She said, I've only just got this thing. I don't know how it works. So I'm really, and she said she was scared to go across the road in case she got stuck halfway. Like I say, we don't know what a person is going through when we see them. And it's important that we are aware of that, and that not everybody is in the good space that you might be in at the time. Who did that prison experiment about conformity, the prison guard study? I'm not sure, Trip. Can you Google it? Because I might be able to log into the OU website and have a look for one of the papers if you've got it there. There was a Spanish movie about it, very good. Yeah, I honestly don't know. It's not something that I've come across yet. There was something about prison guards in the book, but it may have only been in my studies, but it may have only been a small thing, or it could have been something that I saw, because we have the book to study and then we have the online work to do, and there's a lot of stuff in both. So I think, you know, those sort of things, helping other people, can be a good thing. Yeah, Stephen, I know what you mean. You would never walk away, but it's a shame some elderly are automatically suspicious of your intent. You would never walk away, and proudly say you never have. My mum, I rang her today and she was stressing. She was saying, well, I'm really upset. I said, Mum, what's wrong? She said, no, she had a phone call, somebody from the bank telling her that there was a problem with her card. I said, Mum, it's a scam. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, it's a scam, Mum. They will never phone you and tell you that. The woman, she said the woman spoke really well and said to her, there's been some unusual activity on your account. Now, my mum's sight, she can barely see anymore, so she would not have been able to give the woman on the phone any information at all anyway. And she said she's worried now that a card's been, a bank account. I said, Mum, don't worry, it's a scam. You actually by not being able to answer their questions, you saved yourself, saved yourself that fear. So anyway, my sister went round after work and everything was okay. But yeah, it's elderly people who don't understand technology and don't understand how these things work and these things happen can get really, really scared. And I agree with you, Stephen, that the Zimbardo experiment, I'm going to write that down. Thanks, Trip. At Stanford. Okay. If I've got time, I'll have a look for it after. If not, I'll pull it up for the next live I do. So, hi, Elle. Lovely to see you, my darling. Good to see you. Is that the Stanford prison experiment? There was one that was done where there were people that were, this might be the one that you're on about actually, there were people that were recruited, students, and they were told that they were going into prison, and there were half became prisoners and the other half became prison guards. Is that the one that you're talking about, Trip? Because in that, the prisoners, the prison guards actually started to become really aggressive and really... Yeah, that's the one, Trip. Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, it was... I think we did that in my previous module, actually. I think I did that one in my previous module. It was a social science experiment. Yeah, and I remember that now. So the guys who were acting as the prison guards became so authoritative, didn't they? And they were so aggressive towards the prisoners. And it was a very good experiment, but things like that are very unethical. There's a whole load of rules and regulations that we need to pay attention to. We work under specific British Psychological Association, the BPA, and certain tests we're not allowed to do like that anymore. So, but yeah, that is a good one, Trip. I have seen that. Yeah, quite scary. Quite scary how that sort of level of authority can quickly change a person's attitude. And of course, when they're being observed as well, it does change their attitude. And the observation can make them sort of become even more aggressive. I'm so glad I knew which one you meant, Trip. Or because they had a little bit of authority given to them by rules everyone followed. Very, very interesting. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I definitely do know that one, but I'm going to actually go and read up about it and see if I can find a paper on it. Bit like hungry politicians. Yeah, let's try and steer away from politics today because I just don't want to deal with it. Really don't. I missed Graham's social this morning because I had to go for my run early before it got too hot. But luckily today it didn't get too hot. So I just want to say again, thank you to everybody who has donated. I did a video earlier on, a short. If you do want to donate, the link to the donation page is the first comment of that video. Oh, thank you, Stephen. No, I just don't want to. It's Sunday evening. Let's have a chill. We've got to go back to work tomorrow. We're back to normal tomorrow, and I just thought, you know what, it's just too much meh. Right, so what I thought, a bit of nonsense, would be to have a look at our horoscopes. So, tell me what horoscope you are, and I shall read your horoscope for the week. This is from Good News. I actually like this, this little website, Good News Network. I get quite a few things off of here, and it's nice to always, see these things that are fun rather than negative. So I am a Taurian, so I'm going to read Taurus. So any of you who are Taurian, I haven't read this. I'm just reading this now. Let's see if I can pronounce this properly. In Japan, komorebi refers to the dappled sunlight that streams through tree leaves. I like that. It names a subtle ephemeral beauty that busy people might be oblivious to. Not you, I hope. Actually, I'm not oblivious to it, because when I run in the forest every day, that's what I see, and I love that sort of dappled sunlight look. In the coming weeks, I invite you to draw on Komorebi as an inspirational metaphor. Tune into the soft illumination glimmering in the background. Be alert for flickers and flashes that reveal useful clues. Trust in the indirect path, the sideways glance, the half-remembered dream, and the overheard conversation. Anything blatant and loud is probably not relevant to your interests. P.S. Be keen to notice what's not being said. I like that. That's really nice. Because I do pay attention to nature when I run. I am a bit of a sort of like, oh, butterflies, oh, bees. You know, I do that. I'm very, very much a nature lover, very much a nature goddess. Well, I'm an earth sign, so Taurus tends to notice things like that. I love natural beauty, things that are beautiful in nature, but everything in nature is beautiful, even if it may appear ugly. Hi Jan, lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. I hope everything's okay in France. Let us know what the weather's like today. What have you been up to? What are you doing this evening? Trip, you're Scorpio. Let's have a look at Scorpio. Bear with me. One of your superpowers is your skill at detecting what's unfolding beneath the surfaces. It's almost like you have X-ray vision. Your ability to detect hidden agendas, buried secrets, and underground growth is profound. But in the coming weeks, I urge you to redirect your attention. You will generate good fortune for yourself if you turn your gaze to what lies at the horizon and just beyond. Can you sense the possibilities percolating at the edges of your known world? Can you sync up your intuitions with the future's promises? Educated guesses will be indistinguishable from true prophecies. That's interesting. Let me know if that resonates, Trip, and yeah, keep us updated as to if that is actually what happens. One thing I do want to mention about star signs and this sort of thing is a lot of people don't believe in it, and that's perfectly fine. But it is actually based on science. It's based on the scientific energy pull of the planets in the universe, specifically in our solar system, where the planets align on the date of your birth and how those planets affect you through your life. Which is why you'll often have people saying, oh, Mercury's in retrograde and it causes problems with communication, which it does. When Mercury's in retrograde, it's going backwards, but it's not actually going backwards, okay? It may look in the sky as if it's going backwards, but it's not. It is the way that the planet itself moves on its path around the sun. But when it is in that sort of movement that looks like it's going backwards, it can affect us. Don't forget as well that the sun, for example, when we have solar flares, affects here on Earth with our solar, our communication with satellites and so on. The aurora borealis this year has been incredibly bright because of the solar flares. And obviously, scientifically speaking, the more of the atmosphere is depleted by what's going on, the more that kind of thing will happen, and the more damaging it will be UV wise. So, it is something to bear in mind with where the planets are. And I would suggest, if you can, there is software available online that you can download and you can do your own birth chart. And just have a look at it and see, in retrospect, have these things affected you through your life? Because I know when I've looked at mine a couple of times, different ones, that it's the same, exactly the same. Every planet's been in exactly the same place. For example, my moon sign is Leo, and it definitely shows that I have that fieriness of the Leo in me. Right. Oh, I love that. I love that we're speaking French. Salut. I love that. My French is not that great, Jan, so maybe you can teach us a little bit about it. That would be wonderful. So Trip, you're Scorpio. We've mentioned Scorpio. Elle, you're Chaos. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. We've gone into Cancer now, haven't we? We've just finished Gemini, so yes, happy birthday for this month. My mum's Cancer. Her birthday is on the 13th of July, and my niece's birthday is on the 12th of July, so we always have a double celebration. It's a really lovely celebration to have. So Cancer, tides don't ask for, of course, you're ruled by water, so the sea is very, very powerful in your life, water energy. Tides don't ask for permission. They ebb and flow in accordance with an ancient gravitational intelligence that obeys its own elegant laws. I love the way this is written. I really do love the way this is written. Entire ecosystems rely on their steady cyclical rhythms. You too harbour tidal forces. They are partially synced up with the Earth's rivers, lakes and seas, and are partially under the sway of your deep emotional power. It's always crucial for you to be intimately aware of your tides, flows and patterns, but even more than usual right now, I hope that you will trust their timing and harness their tremendous energy. Let me know what that means for you, Elle. One thing that we do seem to forget is that our bodies, I think it's 70% water. I think 67, 70%, it might be more. So when the moon revolves around the Earth, it draws the tides, it draws the water. So that's why you'll have high tide on one side of the planet and low tide on the other, and it changes. It also does the same on a level to our bodies. So that's something else to just be aware of. When the moon's full, it affects me. I can't sleep. So, you know, these are just things that I've observed over my life and, you know, journaled about them. So I hope that helps you, Jan, over the next week. Maybe go and dip your toes in the water for a little bit and reconnect to that energy. Just going to have another sip of water. I've drunk so much water today. Hang on a second. Okay, I'll go along with it. No offense, healthy skeptical. Libra, yeah, Libra's very skeptical. But I have a friend who's a Libra. I've been friends with him for years and years and years. And he does believe in star signs. So let's have a look at Libra, Stephen. And yeah, it's okay to be skeptical. And if you don't want me to read out your star sign, that's fine. Doesn't matter. I don't have to, you know, and just thought it might be a bit of fun. Stuff and nonsense, like I say. Botanists speak of serotiny, a plant's ability to delay seed release until the environment is just right. Some pine cones, for instance, only open after a fire. What part of you has been patiently waiting, Libra? What latent brilliance has not been ready to emerge until now? The coming weeks will offer catalytic conditions, perhaps heat, perhaps disruption, perhaps joy, that will be exactly what's needed to unleash the fertile potency. Have faith that your seeds will draw on their own wild intelligence. That's very interesting. So it's perhaps saying there that, you know, your creative energy, whatever it is that you need to do, perhaps you're thinking about something and you need to make a choice. Go with the flow at the moment. But I've just learned a new word today, serotiny. Serotiny. Nice word. I like that. Let's have a look. Possibilities of more weed. Well, if only I could. If only I could. Hi, Pete's Music. You're in here somewhere. I'm seeing a hello here to you. So I can't see your comments, but if you are here, that's wonderful. Sorry, just bear with me a second. I'm just, it's going too fast. I can't see what's going on. It's supposed to, Jan says it was supposed to be cooler today in France, but at 7 p.m. it was still 32 degrees. Wow. Wow. I don't envy you. I do not envy you. Next Mercury retrograde is the 18th of July. Oh, thanks for letting me know. Stephen, we had a rainstorm pass over in Glasgow and the area is more comfortable. We had a bit of rain this afternoon, but not enough in my opinion. Trip, I used to believe in fate and destiny. I'm not so sure. I think that you know, remember Sarah Connor in Terminator 2? She said, there's no fate but what we make. She etched it into the table, didn't she? And I think, there is the fate that what we make, but also there is part of destiny. I don't know. I'm sort of in between, that there are things that happen at the right time, and then, stuff happens, and maybe there's some sort of synchronicity, which was a word that was made up by Einstein. He invented that word. Didn't exist until him. So I think that there is a certain amount of synchronicity. When I look back at what I've gone through in my life, having moved from South Africa to here, and all the things that happened in between, it all happened for a reason, and it's all brought me to this place right now. To believe in astrology would mean time is set and predictable. It would, but the thing is, Trip, what you've got to remember is the planets constantly move. So every day where the planet is will have an effect on you in some specific way. For example, Jupiter takes 42 years to get to halfway round the chart where you are when you're born. And so we sort of have the midlife crisis. And then it takes another 42 years to get back to where you were when you were born, where it was when you were born. So I do believe that there is that ebb and flow and pull of certain planets. If there wasn't, we wouldn't have a solar system. But, it's your choice what you believe in. This is just stuff and nonsense. Don't ask me to speak French. I don't get to practice that much since I stopped work. Okay. Elle, you drink a lot of water and the full moon affects you as well. Yeah. It would help explain premonitions, etc. Yeah, I think, okay, we could get into the psychic side of things if you like. I honestly believe that each and every single one of us has some connection into that energy around us. And there are things that we pick up. I'm pretty sure that some of you will have experienced the phone ringing and you already know who it is before you even look at it. Or, something along those lines. It's a bit different now, isn't it? Because we've got mobile phones that show who's ringing us now. But back in the day, when we had proper landline phones and it didn't have the name on, you could think, oh, it's so-and-so ringing me, but you didn't have that connection with them. So, yeah, maybe there's a bit of something there. But also, allowing ourselves to just have that quiet moment every day, sort of 5 minutes, just to sit and try and connect into what's around you. Turn off the electronics, move away from the telly or the games or whatever. If you can, go outside, have a little bit of, connection with the plants and animals, but just sort of removing yourself from the electronics around us. Maybe try and tap into that a little bit more. Hi, Pete. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. Trip, I foresee things. Problem is, I only realise when it happens and realise that was a premonition. Yeah, that can happen, L. Glitch in the matrix, maybe. Who else? There was somebody else. Deja vu. Yeah, there is deja vu. I mean, glitch in the matrix. Deja vu is something that's happened previously in a past life or at some stage that you remember. But it's also scientifically been linked to a little blip in the brain. What's true or not, I don't know. That might be something to work towards on my thesis. So I've got loads of thesis ideas. Instinct, yeah. Instinct, definitely trust your instinct. I mean, instinct is always in the gut. So when you have that gut feeling, and that's related to the chakras and where they are in the body. And each one is related to an element of the body. I could talk about this stuff for hours. Dreams, yeah, definitely dreams. Dreams are, I feel that some can be prophetic, but I also feel that a lot of dreams are working through stuff that's happened to you in the day, or stressful things that have happened to you in the day, or things that you need to remember to do. Keep a dream diary if you want to. There are dream dictionaries as well that you can get. I've got a couple one here actually. I've had this one for years, and I absolutely love it. You can see it's well used. It's old. Got it years and years ago. 1986 edition. First edition was printed in 1974. So this is has that old book smell. But it gives you some good ideas as to what you've dreamt about and what it may mean. Police Synchronicity album. It's a very good album, Gary. It's one that I don't have. I've got Regatta de Blanc, but not the Synchronicity album. Déjà vu in French translates to see before. Yes, it does. Stephen, your younger brother had that. Somebody else had put their star sign up here and I can't find it now. Sorry, just bear with me. Did somebody else put their star sign up on here that they wanted me to read for them? Excuse me. Libra, we've done Libra, we've done Cancer, we've done Scorpio, I did Taurus. Okay, so I've covered all the ones that came through. L, on your birthday in 2014, you were saying to your mum, is Gran okay when you saw her this week? I have a bad feeling, etc. A couple of days later, she had a very serious stroke. Bless you, L. Yeah, I've had experiences like that. My sister, I think I may have mentioned it before, actually. She, I knew when she was pregnant with her first child. But I'd made her fertility, you know, when you do the hen do thing. So I'd made her this fertility necklace. It was a gigantic carrot and 2 potatoes, obviously, and on a bit of string around her neck. And so, yeah, she fell pregnant pretty soon after the wedding, but I knew she was pregnant. Anyway, her second child, she was pregnant with him. And I rang her and I said, why aren't you pushing yet? And she said, how did you know? I don't know. Again, it's that thing, that connecting into whatever that energy is that's there. Pete's Music, Stephen had a shower storm and it was welcome, but your flowers are being battered. Oh, I hate that when that happens. Hate that. That's what happened to my apple tree last year. All the blossoms got battered and then I had a very small apple crop, but this year I've got quite a lot on my tree. So I'm going to be making lots of apple pies and lots of apple sauce. So I've only got a little bit left, a little bit of time left. Let's see which article. I've pulled up a number of articles that I found. When I'm reading through my phone at night, I get these articles and I think, oh, that sounds good. I might read that one. Oh, this one is a nice one. This one's a nice one. Just bear with me, my laptop's buffering. Maybe I should close down some of the other... Oh, no, you can't reach the page. Oh, there we go. This was in The Guardian yesterday, and it came up on my feed, and I just think it's brilliant. This is Amanda Ulrich in Carlsbad, California. It's about the Second World War. She flew hazardous fighter planes for Britain during World War II, and she just turned 106. I'm going to link this into the comments below because it's absolutely just, it's so wonderful to see things like this. Californian Nancy Miller Stratford's fiance forbade her from going to join the war effort, but her dream was to fly, so she broke off the engagement and went anyway. Brave woman. Brave, brave woman. You know, I'd probably do something like that. Nancy Miller Stratford sat alone behind the controls of a Spitfire fighter plane, charting an uncertain course through an impenetrable clot of dark clouds. On the horizon, the young pilot could see a promising patch of daylight, like the devil waving his hand to come on through. But just as suddenly as the sky opened up, the clouds closed in again. Her visibility plummeted to zero. She had no idea which way was up and which was down. Far beneath her lay the moody Scottish coastline, where an unplanned landing would be next to impossible. Fortunately, it was life or death scenarios like this when Stratford was the sharpest. In that moment, she felt no fear. This was simply a problem that needed to be solved. Despite having no formal instrument training, she relied solely on the control panel in the cockpit rather than the view outside her window to muscle the plane through the wall of clouds and land safely at the nearest airport. The year was 1944 and Stratford was 25 years old. Last week, she celebrated her 106th birthday at home in California. After 8 decades, she and a small group of other female pilots are finally earning more widespread recognition for their critical and dangerous roles they played in the Second World War. A new book called Spitfires, written by the journalist and author Becky Eichmann, chronicles the pilots' vivid wartime stories as the first American women to fly military aircraft. Isn't that amazing? You know, I love the fact that we are now starting to, because a lot of people have said to me, and you know, I do deal with a lot of misogynistic men and men who are toxic, have toxic masculinity. But they say to me, oh, women didn't fight in the war, in World War II. But yes, they did. The Queen did. Well, the Queen worked on, she could drive a Jeep. In fact, she preferred to drive her own Jeeps rather than have other people drive her around. Brave woman. I completely agree with her. I prefer to be in control of the own vehicle that I'm in rather than somebody else driving. But that's because I'm the best driver in the world, as we all think we are. So yeah, there were women involved in the war effort, not just at Bletchley, not just in officers typing out communications, but flying planes. And we need to remember that. We do need to remember that. Guys, if you're watching, please can you give the channel a like? And if you're not subscribed, if you could subscribe, that would be great. I just want to build up the channel so that I can start, you know, earning a bit of cash so that I can buy a proper camera and have proper equipment and proper software that I can make proper videos with. Stephen, I'll put an order in now. Brilliant. You'll have to come and collect it though. Trip, I was going to invent the kite, but then I saw Lost in Space was about to start and then Land of Giants right after, so it just left it in it. Could have made millions. I like Lost in Space. Didn't that finish? Didn't Lost in Space finish? That was a good show, that one. I've not seen Land of Giants. Trip, love both programs. Joan of Arc. Yes, Gary, Joan of Arc. Definitely. Definitely Joan of Arc. And this is, some things are forgotten. And, you know, that there have been strong women in the world. Boudica. She kept the Romans out of Britain for many, many years. Unfortunately, they did actually eventually make it into Britain, but without them, we wouldn't have roads and, you know, all sorts of other things. But she fought on after her husband, his name was Mark, I think. He was killed in battle. And so she went on to fight. She led her, she was the Queen of the Iceni. They ruled on the, I think it was on the east coast of England, I think down south somewhere, I think possibly London area, because it was the Mercians in the middle part of England and it was the Brigantians in the north. Anyway, so she was the Queen of the Iceni, and she, instead of them taking away that right from her, they let her have that right. And she carried on being in charge of the Iceni and took them into battle. Lost in Space did end, but they never found Earth. Yeah, I know they didn't, but it was a good show. It was a good show. I like that actor. He was in that Black Sails as well. I don't know if you saw that. That was a good program as well. Isn't he English? He used to be in a show where he was a cop or something, I think. It was a British show. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. No, they're still lost in space. I saw a video on most civilizations pre 3,000 years ago tended to be matriarchal. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Britain, BC. I read a lot. a different subject. So yeah, they did. And it was only from the biblical, the Abrahamic religions that men decided that they would be in charge. Big up the Brigantes. Yes, I actually go up to the land of the Brigantia. I'm going up there for the equinox. Going up there for the equinox in autumn. I don't know if you know where Thornborough Henge is. It's it's sort of between Thirsk and Ripon. So you go, if you're driving on the A1, you go past the Thirsk junction, which sort of goes over, and you go to the next one, which is the roundabout that heads towards Ripon. And they've just changed that over the last few years. And so at that roundabout, you used to have to go left, but now you can go straight over. And there's a road that runs down alongside of the A1. And Thornborough is just off there. It's pretty close to Masham. And it's a henge. It is a bigger henge than Stonehenge, but there are no stones anymore. The stones have all gone. But it's actually 3 henges that lay out in the direct alignment to Orion's belt and the constellation of Orion. So very, very interesting. I might talk about that next time. Okay, we're 1 minute past 7. I am going to go and watch some TV and have my pudding. I'm going to have, what am I going to have? I'm going to have my jam tarts that I made and some custard. And yeah, please don't forget that I am running the charity Race for Life next Sunday. If you do have a spare bit of cash, if you could pop a bit into the fundraiser, that would really, really be wonderful. I'd really appreciate it. I will link the articles that I've spoken about today into the comments or description box as well afterwards. It takes a while for it to become public afterwards because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to technology. I just have to sort of flying by the seat of my pants, really. But yeah, so wish me luck for next week's race. Thanks, Richie. Goth, appreciated. Take care, guys. Stay safe. Yes, all of you stay safe. Have a fabulous week. Have a restful evening. I'll see some of you on the social tomorrow morning. I should be there for a while, maybe not the whole time because my training this week is pretty, and I need to get out before it gets too hot. But I will probably go live on Tuesday evening and I'm not sure about Friday, but definitely, hopefully Sunday after my race. So stay blessed, everybody. Mwah.